Hello everybody, welcome back to another video, as today we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams off-season so far. As today we're going to be talking about the Ottawa Senators and reviewing their crazy off-season as they picked up their hometown boy in Giroux, got Debrincat, and improved their goaltending duo as well. And honestly, just a very good offseason in general here for the Ottawa Senators. Still a little bit of concern stepping into this upcoming season, but they are making some big improvements to vastly improve this team this upcoming season. But before we head into this one, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. It'll be very much appreciated there, boys. So let's get into this bad boy here with the Ottawa Senators, as this is a team that has been all over everything this past offseason. They made a lot of big moves. Of course, we're still hearing their name out there as well. They're still thinking about going after Giroux as well. So maybe they are still looking to improve someone on that left-handed side. And quite honestly, I mean, you can definitely, if you pick up Giroux, the defensive core is going to look a lot better coming into this upcoming season, especially if you are able to get rid of Zaitsev's contract in that deal as well. It is going to be a really good move for the Ottawa Senators, quite honestly. So let's get into this offseason here for the Sens and get into the very first topic, like usual, is the draft. And let's talk about that. So the draft was not terrible, but definitely not amazing. Philip Norberg, Oscar Peterson, not bad picks. Probably the two highlights of the draft was Thomas Humaria. He was from the Czech, I think. Yes, the Czech league there, played for Liga Taparia, 2 points in 24 games. Pretty defensively, doesn't, bring too much offense to the team. He'll, he's not a bad passer, but he's not offensively dynamic. So he'll be maybe a third pairing defenseman. He has a good toolkit. And then Jaron Donovan, also another guy that has a decent toolkit to become a pretty good defenseman in the future. Just has to kind of, fix up a few pieces of his game. Like his skating is all right, and his stick work is not terrible, but definitely still a lot of room to be improved here. And honestly, just another rough draft, quite honestly, for the Ottawa Senators. Last year, they got Tyler Boucher, which a lot of people have really not liked him, and neither have I. I don't really have high hopes on Tyler Boucher, and the rest of the draft wasn't amazing. And this draft here this year wasn't fantastic either for the Ottawa Senators. They just got some players that, Nordberg, they jumped high on. He wasn't even supposed to go really in the second round, but they jumped high on him, and I don't know, just not an amazing draft here for the Ottawa Senators. They picked up some alright guys, but just not amazing to say the least. But this is where, we really take that amazing turn, is their trades. Very first off, they traded away their 7th overall selection, which they had a first-round pick, but they traded away in another second. But, I mean, this is a well-worth deal, because they picked up Alex Debrincat for a first, second, and a third, and what a move this is. Yeah, Debrincat's on his last year of his contract, but if you're able to figure something out where you can bring this guy back in, Debrincat's going to be a fucking star for you, quite honestly. Debrincat was the play driver for the Chicago Blackhawks over the past few years, ever since he's really made his debut. He's been a big play driver there for the Chicago Blackhawks and has just been absolutely amazing year in, year out. This year he had 78 points in 82 games, basically a point-per-game player, and throwing up another 41 goals this past season as well. He's a goal-scoring threat. He's very dangerous, and I think this is just an amazing trade for the Ottawa Senators, especially if they're able to re-sign him. If not, that's going to be a big bummer, but this is a guy that I would absolutely be focused on re-signing and getting him back. And the thing is, he's an RFA too, so you have the arbitration rights, you have the rights of the player. So honestly, great move here by the Ottawa Senators. Really do love it. And Debrincat's an amazing player for the Ottawa Senators, so I'm really excited to see what he'll do in that Sens uniform. Moving forward, they picked up future considerations for dumping on Matt Murray, a 3rd and a 7th. Another W of a trade here, quite honestly. Yeah, you had the trade, retain about 1.5, but it's only 2 years that you really have to deal with Matt Murray's contract. And honestly, that's not too bad, because honestly, you're not really going to be paying big bucks until 2 years after Matt Murray, like a year after Matt Murray's contract anyways. So either way, not a bad move here. You get rid of the goalie that's just been an absolute bombshell. I mean, we were saying that this contract was going to be bad in general, and it was. It was, ever since the Ottawa Senators signed it. It was a very bad contract, and it just never really panned out for them. But I see this as another good deal, especially since you were able to get rid of Matt Murray and only really had to give up a third and a seventh. Pretty good deal. And then the next deal, they picked up Cam Talbot for Philip Guffson. I'm really not a big fan of this move. Now, I do like Cam Talbot. I think Cam Talbot is an all-right goaltender, and it's nice that they have him on the last deal of his contract. But this is a guy that can only really play a maximum of 40 games tops, really. Cam Talbot is just a mediocre goalie. He's going to throw up a 9.15 save percentage most of the time. And I think it's a good tandem that they got now between Talbot and Forsberg. I really do believe it is. I think they definitely do got a good tandem going. It depends, of course, on how other defensive core will play in front of Talbot as well. I think that's a big question as well. Talbot's playing in front of a worse defensive core than I think he's had in a long time. I think the last time was, maybe Edmonton was the last time he really had a bad defensive core, and he wasn't playing that amazing in those last 2 years that he was in Edmonton. So it's kind of a big concern, I think, moving forward on how well will Cam Talbot do. I think he'll do okay. I think he'll post like a 9.10, 9.15 save percentage. But losing a young goalie like Philip Guffson, who had a pretty good future, I think is a big loss in its own. And you look at their future goaltending, they don't have a lot of big names. I mean, Matt Sogard could be something, but I really wasn't a big fan of him when I did see him play. But I always was a big fan of Philip Guffson and thought very highly of him. So I think that's a big loss, especially since you're trading away for just a year of Cam Talbot. I'm not too high on it, especially losing a very young goalie in Philip Guffson, but maybe Pierre Dorian just didn't feel like he was going to end up being anything. So maybe I'm in the wrong here. I'm not no goaltending guru. So I think it's an all right deal, but definitely not amazing. And then they were trading away Connor Brown and got a second round pick, just clearing up some cap. I mean, you really didn't need to, but you look at the depth chart already, like, they had barely any room on their right wing side. You really don't have any room for Connor Brown to play up on the second line, nor on the third line, especially with Matthew Joseph signing that 4-year deal, which I think Matthew Joseph, we're going to be getting into him a little bit later on, but I think that's just going to be an absolute breakout player for this upcoming year for the Ottawa Senators. But on a mad move, you pick up a second-round pick for a Connor Brown, who's going to be like a third-line, second-line type of guy. Plays all right, not amazing, but only a second-round pick. I'll take that any day. So we'll move into free agency here now. So the very first re-signing was Anton Forsberg, signed him back to a 3-year, $2.75 million deal. I really like this move, re-signing Anton Forsberg, who had a really good season this past year, 9.17 save percentage. In 46 games, was 22-17. Put up a really good record for the Ottawa Senators, played a bulk of games, and played really good in those bulk of games. So I'm excited to see what he'll do in a tandem. And on a 3-year deal where, he had a really good season, I think Forsberg could potentially be a really, really big steal here for the Ottawa Senators moving forward. So I'm a really big fan of the signing. And then but for free agency, they were going apeshit crazy. They got Claude Giroux at a 3-year deal, $6.5 million, and wow, what a steal this was. I mean, we were hearing, Giroux in, kind of Canada area, and I really love this move for the Ottawa Senators. I think Giroux is the type of player that you want to help for a team going in the future. You have a lot of young guys with Debrincat, Stuztle, Batherson, Norris, and Tkachuk. You got a lot of young guys, and now you have Claude Giroux, who could be that big veteran, can be that basically the dad of the locker room, and that's exactly what you needed out of Giroux, and you get that exact guy that can help with the leadership of the squad and kind of pull them together. So I'm really, really excited to see what Giroux will be able to do, especially with Norris and Tkachuk, who are their two biggest kind of goal scorers, and now also Debrincat. If Debrincat goes up on that top line, my lord, you have a really offensively deadly top six that could be absolutely insane, without a doubt. And that's why some people were saying, this is probably one of the best top sixes in the league. I don't see it as the best top six in the league. But in the very near future, this could be one of the best top sixes in the league, without a doubt, just with the fact that, Tkachuk is looking amazing, Norris. I mean, still need a lot of improvement 5-on-5 wise, but I think with the, pickup of Giroux and Debrincat, they're going to help them 5-on-5 wise, and I think Stuztle is going to have a big year this year. I think Batherson, having him fully healthy this year, is going to be having a big season, same with Norris and Tkachuk. So I'm really quite honestly excited to see what that top six will do for the Ottawa Senators. And then they also got back Joshua Norris on a massive 8-year, $7.95 million deal. And holy crow, they locked him up for sure. And I mean, you want to lock up your two biggest stars, and that's what they certainly did with both Tkachuk and Norris. And it's not a bad idea. You know, they've been dealing with some hard cap problems for years, so you lock up your two biggest stars in both Tkachuk and Norris. You don't have to worry about them until 2028, 2030. And I think it's a really smart deal there by Doherty and getting these guys locked up. Norris struggled 5-on-5 this past season, but did amazing on the power play, knows amazing finishing ability, and I think he'll only grow from here. I think he's going to be an amazing top-line centerman, and what a steal from the San Jose Sharks. I mean, my lord, this was part of the Erik Karlsson move, and just imagine if the San Jose Sharks had, you know, half of these guys in Norris and Stuztle. I mean, my lord. The San Jose Sharks they're kind of upset about this deal. I don't think they really benefit from picking up Erik Karlsson, to say the least. And then Matthew Joseph, who is another guy that they got back on a 4-year, $2.95 million deal. And I think this is going to be a guy that's going to be like a Carver Hagee. No joke. I think this is going to be a guy that's like Carver Hagee. He was a point per game when he went off to Ottawa. His analytics, he's showing that, you know, he has great finishing ability, but he doesn't generate a whole lot of offense. But I think that's really going to change this upcoming season. I really feel that Matthew Joseph is just going to have an amazing breakout season where he posts, you know, 50 points this upcoming season. Now, I could totally be wrong, but I really feel like Matthew Joseph's going to have a real big breakout season this year. He's just that type of player. Whenever I watched him, I felt like he's just on the cusp of being a real big breakout player. I mean, the guy plays amazing defensively, really good on the PK, and I'm excited to see what he'll be able to do offensively this upcoming season, especially when he's playing on the line with Shane Pinto and Alex Formenton. It's going to be a really offensively deadly third line, so I'm really, really excited to see what Matthew Joseph will be able to do with those guys. So honestly, just a really exciting team here with the Ottawa Senators, especially if they are able to get, you know, Jacob Chychrun. I think it's going to be a really, really exciting defensive core to watch, and not just that, their offensive core. Now, their defensive core is still a big issue, I think. You know, Shabbat good, Zub good, but you're looking at Hamonic, Branstrom, Holden, and Zaitsev. That's where it kind of gets rough for me. I'm not a big fan of all those guys, but I think Zub and Shabbat, if you pick up another big defenseman, I think the defense core could look quite solid into this upcoming season. So, what's my grade on this year's Ottawa Senators offseason? Honestly, they really didn't lose a whole lot. They only really gained from this past offseason. So, honestly, with all the moves that they did, the Debrincat trade was a W, picking up Giroux was a W. The only really bad deals I seen was the Cam Talbot one, but it wasn't the worst, you know, loss in the world, especially if you have Forsberg absolutely pop off for you in the next few years. That could be a W. So, honestly, I'm going to give this team a flat A, I think. You know, I think this team deserves the A. Giroux's contract was amazing. Picking up Debrincat was amazing. The Norris contract was quite nice. The Forsberg contract was good. Joseph's contract was good. The trades that they did do, I don't think they lost out on. The only bad thing apart from this was their draft, and I think their draft, if they drafted a little bit better, it could have been an A+. But with their draft being so poor, I think, yeah, it's either an A- or an A, but I think I'm going to go with an A just because the Debrincat deal popped it up so high. The Matt Murray, getting rid of him, was a good deal. Cam Talbot, that was not a bad deal, and the Brown deal wasn't bad either. And just the signings really took it away with the Giroux, Norris, Joseph, and Forsberg, all amazing value signings for the Ottawa Senators moving forward. But for right now, guys, I'm going to end the video here. Tell me, guys, in the comment section below what you guys thought of the Ottawa Senators offseason, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.